Well, I wish I'd have brought my camera with me. I just got done doing some bank fishing at a private pond that a buddy from church took me to for someone else that lives at our works or goes to our church. So I caught probably 14 or 15 bass there, a lot of them on the spinner bait, just kind of going around the bank. A lot of the fish I caught were actually out in the middle, and they hit it pretty much right off the fall. So it was a pretty good hour and a half or 2 hours out there. Just showing up at a different local lake here, about ready to get out and see what I can catch. So wish me luck. So after throwing lures around for some time with no luck, I resorted to the Ned rig. So you can see I'm kind of throwing that with the wind behind my back, throwing it up kind of towards some timber and whatnot, which is sometimes a little dicey with the Ned rig because it's not weedless, so you can't get it hung up and that stuff. But I didn't throw it into the wood, I just kind of threw it nearby. It looks like I'm moving this bait pretty quickly, but you have to remember the wind is pushing me towards my bait, so I'm reeling a little bit faster just to account for the fact that I'm closing distance on my lure just from my kayak inching towards it. Basically just kind of slowly hopping it on the bottom and dragging it. Well, oh mother. Had one on the Ned rig for a moment. Just kind of dragging it on the bottom. Has been a tough time out here today, if I'm being completely honest. Alright, got one on the blade bait. I needed this pretty bad. Hopefully I can land it. Well, not a monster, but we will take it. All right. 16th fish of the day, first fish of the day in the kayak on this lake. Missed one probably 20 or 30 minutes ago on the Ned rig, actually right over here in this corner. I think all my success earlier today was just since it was at a private pond that this fish hadn't seen a lure in 10 years. Got this northeast wind coming in here, which is not what you want. So, sticking with the confidence bait. This blade bait has done me solid this year in the cold water. So anyway, there is a few different retrieve options for blade bait. The primary one that I've been using is just kind of a stop and go retrieve where you just kind of reel, get the blade vibrating a little bit up through the water, and then kill it, let it sink, and or kind of slowly pendulum towards you, reel, let it vibrate a little bit, maybe pull up on it a little bit, let it die, just kind of rinse and repeat that thing back to the boat. You can also just jig it off at the bottom or just kind of give it a steady, slow retrieve, you know, at varying speeds. Probably you want to keep it fast enough to where there's a little bit of vibration. But for whatever reason, this bait has just really working for me in the cold water this year. So right now I'm just throwing the Mega Bass Dark Sleeper. It's just a small, heavy swim bait that what I've been doing with it is basically just really slowly kind of dragging it on the bottom. It gets a little bit of tail kick, just enough to kind of get the bass's attention, but it kind of keeps that bottom contact to stay down there where the bass are if they're down there, and just a small, subtle presentation for when the bites are tough. Got one on the Dark Sleeper. Just kind of crawling this little swim bait on the bottom. Ooh, barely got that guy. It's chunky though. Okay, so welcome back. I'm just going to answer a few comments that I've gotten in the comments of my videos. One is, how do I get in my kayak without getting my feet wet? The main deal of it is, for mine, what I do is I basically line my kayak up in the water, kind of with the nose pointed towards me on the shore like this. And then usually I'll grab the oars or the paddles and get that put together, and you can kind of use that for stabilization. But while most of the kayak is in the water, at least the front half of it is still kind of in the sand. Even though it's like wet in the water, it's still got enough sand to support it. So I basically just kind of step on top of it like that and work my way back down inside until I get in. That's kind of the deal. You'll see that on some of my videos where I include that in towards the intro of the video, so you'll probably see that a handful of times if you keep watching my videos. One of the other things that was asked is basically just kind of an overview of the kayak itself. So what I've got here is a Pescador Pilot 12, and that is a pedal kayak. At the time that I got it, I've had this for a little over a year. I think I got it at the very, very early part of last spring, kind of right when the ice thawed. So I've had a little over a year, probably 14 months or something like that. It's been working pretty well for me so far. So on the front part of it, just kind of got a bungee thing. That's where my life jacket hangs out most of the time. I'm not a responsible kayaker like a lot of people are. Got kind of some cords and stuff for my fish finder, as well as some fishing line. Over on this side, if you can see in there, I've got my scale. That's where my fish finder battery would go most of the time. That's charging right now. You can see here's the actual like pedal system. So when you get out in the water, that is where you will deploy that. This kayak comes with, I think, a reasonably nice chair. I mean, it's nothing super fancy, but get what you pay for, I guess. Like I said, this is kind of on the lower end of the scale, so I'm gonna sit in here. You would pull a pin out down here to deploy the pedal system, and that's the deal. I've got the fish finder over there. Got a rod holder over here if I need it. And then back behind me is all my rods and my tackle, basically. So I have been lately bringing 6 rods with me. Really 4 is enough for me. That's really what I use 99% of the time. But I've lately been bringing this big kind of swim bait rod, which I've got an umbrella rig tied on there right now. And I also have been bringing my little crappie rod, so kind of just in case, every now and then, if I'm out bass fishing, I'll just catch a good-sized crappie on a crankbait or something like that. And sometimes it's just nice to have the crappie rod with you. If you get up on a school, you can just toss in and catch a bunch of lunch and bring them home on the stringer. So other than the rods, obviously back here got a handful of baits there. You can see some of these are what I had in my pocket actually from when I was bank fishing the other day. So I've got my Pit Boss, which is a craw style trailer that I usually have on me. That's been kind of my go-to craw trailer lately. I got kind of a garlic worm with a kick and tail on there. Got a couple fish on the lizard bait on a Texas rig the other day, and just a new package of the Pit Boss. I use, for most of my soft plastics, I've got these Plano KVD bags. These have worked really well for me, honestly. For me, I can fit 2 of them kind of in between my kayak box and my seat kind of bar in the middle of my hole or whatever. And so you can put, you know, all your different trailers and swim baits and plastics. And so I kind of have one of my bags I have set up for basically trailers and swim baits, and the other one is basically worms, creature baits, things that I would throw on a Texas rig and stuff like that. Then I do have the Black Pack kayak crate. I honestly wouldn't really recommend it. It's nice. It's kind of heavy, honestly, so it adds a fair amount of weight to your kayak. It's nice and sturdy. It looks really nice. It comes with the pre-drilled holes and everything for the rod holders, and so it is nice, but I think it was like $120 or something. I don't remember exactly, but it was a very expensive kayak crate, honestly. For the most part, like 90% of what you use it for, you're really just throwing your tackle boxes in here, and you know, a normal milk crate kind of does the job for that. So not gonna lie, I regret that purchase a little bit. Other stuff I've got on here, so the fish finder I have on here is a Garmin, I think it's a 73 SV, so it's got the side view on there. I've got, I think this is the Yak Attack switchblade transducer arm. So I put that down in the water like that. That's been working well for me. And the other couple of major things I have on here, I've got these, can't think of the name of this, is Boondocks Landing Gear is what these wheels are. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to install the base for these wheels on this kayak, because you have to put this backing plate down underneath here, and the only access point is all the way back here, and you can't reach all the way from underneath here to that backing plate, so you have to do some gymnastics to get that under there. But I'm really glad I have it in there, because it allows you to just kind of pop these wheels in and out when you get to the lake, which makes for some easy loading and unloading, and I really have appreciated those since I've got it. The other handy thing that I have is I've got this Anchor Wizard, which you can use. It's basically just a winch that you can crank up your anchor with. It's got kind of a drag system, so when you drop it down, it doesn't give you a bird's nest or whatever, but it'll deploy your anchor, and that's been working pretty well for me. So that's my setup. Went with, like I said, kind of the lower end of the pedal kayaks, but it's been working well for me. But I do have a fair amount of upgrades and things on it that kind of help out my quality of life when I'm out on the water and getting loaded and unloaded and whatnot. So that's the deal. Thanks for watching.